Oh, oh, oh. I did it. I don't know how I did it, but I did it. By myself, no instructions. Girl boss moves. All right, are we ready to play this video game? I sure am. What if I click the wrong language? It's over. Oh, Professor Kukui. Fuck me. What? Hang on now, give me a sec. Good afternoon. Hello, sir. So the day has finally come that you're going to Alola. Alola is a region made up of several different islands. That could be the reason the region is chock full of nothing but rare Pokemon. There's no shortage of cool Pokemon out there in Alola either. Such mysterious creatures. You'll find them all over grass, caves, sky, and sea. You are so. Here in Alola, we love our Pokemon, and we depend on them heaps too. Some of us even battle with them if we call ourselves Pokemon trainers. Rockruff, can you wait till I'm done talking to play? I gotta ask you some questions. Which photo should I use for your passport? Easy. Are we doing memes? I feel like we have to keep this going. I sure do. All caps. Poop fart! This Zoom call, they predicted this. Poop fart, come help me with boxes. Oh, she's so serve. Bitch, we have to do a Lily look. I have to do a Lily look for this series. I forgot Lily's in this game. I gotta get a 16. I got a 613 bang and a nice white cap. Ooh, it's over. Honestly, everybody shits on this region. The character design in this, they got Lily, they got Acerola, they got Kukui, they got they got her mom, they got Olivia. Did I say that already? Some of the, like, this region, the best characters for me. Probably not the best gameplay and like stuff, but I think Lily carries. Oh, and what's their name? The gender, the water type gender envy person. Presented by Game Freak. Oh, they freaky. Oh, they freaky. 3 months later, ... Oh, Guzma, yeah. Lana, yeah. What's his name too? The fire type guy. Is this Poplio region in Lytton? Ah, it's your mom. Go get poop fart for me. Kiawe. Yes. That is your mom. No, it's your mom. I do the, what's her name? Venus Delight point during the lip sync when she falls to the ground and tries to kill Shangela during the lip sync. Lip sync? This is Monty. When he needs treats. It's a Wii U with a gamepad. Product of its time. True. Hello, everyone. I am. Can we get the fuck out of this tutorial? God, the Pokemon starts are so slow. It's always like, you're meeting your mom, then you're gonna get the Pokemon, and then you're gonna sit here, and then you're gonna do nothing, and then you're gonna listen to dialogue for 5 hours. This aggressive bob my character has, girl, please. God, fuck me. He's so hot. I do wish he had a little chest hair going on. Maybe like a happy trail. That'd make me real happy. Oh. You can get Slowpoke on Route 15. I didn't know Slowpoke was in this game. I like looked at the Pokedex and the Pokedex kind of sucks for this game. We're gonna have to find new bonds. Literally, hi Kukui, hi. Awooga, awooga, awooga. Everybody look away. I'm gonna have my way with him. POV. Okay, well, I don't think Kukui wants to have a witch as a girlfriend, so maybe you should step off. You cow. Not us, our minds. Girl, get dressed. Can I change my hairstyle? We're wearing this aggressive bob. I have that bob. That's my Drew Barrymore bob. I'll go get it right now. I'll put it on. You really dress yourself? My God, I can tell. Jesus Christ. We're cousins? Oh, I'm not your cousin. We're not cousins. We're not. We're not. We're not. I don't know who or what you think we are, but we are definitely not cousins. Strike that from the record. Sweet home Alola. Stop calling me cousin. This is like in Arcane when they said Victor and Jace were bros after they were literally about to fuck. I can't. Oh, so do you want me to start calling all my love interests cousin? I'll start. I'll start saying that. Does that sound good to you guys? Because it's just a thing. I'm sure it'll go over well. Get this fucking kid out of my face. Sorry. This tour, like, I don't. I'm not catching that ugly fucking goose. I'm good. I will suffer. I don't catch ugly Pokemon. I'm here for aesthetics. Icky Town, true. Oh, the Tapus. Sorry, flop. Probably the worst part of this game. Hey, Queen! I should have ordered a white hat when I ordered my stuff from Shein. I really should have. Oh, she definitely does. She serves cunt. And that's just tea. And if she wanted to smack me, I'd say yes. Can you guys please? I'm not wanted here. Do you get to change your outfit in this game? I don't remember. Where's the money? Put the money in the bag, lady. I raid her fridge. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Oh. The hat is literally that thing from SpongeBob. It looks like one of the things from SpongeBob. Welcome to Rue Collabs. I don't know why that was in my brain. Where are you going? This game has Mina in it too. I love Mina. Mina's one of my favorite fucking Pokemon characters. If you see me change my profile picture in the Discord to Mina, no, you didn't. Cosmog! So cute. Underrated little guy. That's a little guy. Cosmog, you're a legendary. Just fuck them up, dude. Hey. Wait, his name's what? Mebby? I'll save him. Okay. I fucking die. The bridge breaks and I die. Why is this opening to this game so cinematic? I don't remember it being like so dramatic like this. Oh my god, I die? Like actually? I was kidding. Oh, the way he just killed those 3 Pokemon with ease. Sorry. Nebby. No, I haven't. Please forgive me. I'm so grateful for you helping us out. I think this stone belongs to you. Sparkling stone. Please, don't tell anyone about this. About seeing Nebby. It's a secret, okay? Get into the bag. Get in the bag. I'm worried we might get attacked again. I know it's too much for me to ask, but do you think you could see us back to town? I got you, girl. Let's go. I want an everything bagel so bad right now. Fuck. Everything bagels from Starbucks are the best fucking everything bagels out there. Like, my mouth is watering just thinking about them. You found my assistant. She's your assistant? When they make a Pokemon horror game, what then? What then? I look huge. I'm disgusted with myself. Beat pics. Have I missed something? I need water. This gen's kind of underrated. I feel like these 3 starters are pretty iconic. Rowlet because everybody loves Rowlet, Litten because of Incineroar, and then Poplio because Poplio is just like what everybody picked when they played for the first time. Hey, Reina. As much as I love Poplio, y'all, I don't think we're gonna pick Poplio because I played with Poplio the first time I played this. So I'd like to choose Litten or Rowlet. I'm gonna get a water and we'll reflect. No, honestly, they are all great choices. The owl is so silly. I'm just not a big fan of Decidueye. I don't like Decidueye. If we're thinking endgame, I like Incineroar better, but like early game, I like Rowlet. But like, hypothetically speaking, we're gonna get a Slowpoke, so Slowpoke will have a water type, so we're good with that. Ideally, I don't know what other grass types are in this gen, but I probably am gonna get a lot of grass types, because I love grass type Pokemon. So like, I don't know. I'm leaning towards Litten. I'm gonna do Litten. Oh, look at it, like standing, looking at me. This is me and Monty. Let us see if Litten decides to choose you. Please pick me, Litten. Pick me. Choose me. Oh, he's so happy. so cute. I gotta do it. I gotta do it. Reina, thank you for subscribing. I gotta name him after my cat. Monty Jr. You're not good at keeping this secret, Lily. Get the Pokemon back in the bag. Probably. I will say, I know this game's long, so we might have to take a break for 13 streams of Halloween. Ow! But yeah, I'll try to commit to it. Because we don't have any other series happening right now because we just abandoned Resident Evil 7 because it flopped. No, October's crazy, so... The date on my DS is 2011? Do you see that? 6/9/2011. Oh! I remember the bean stuff. I remember that. I remember farming for the beans. The reflection I see in my DS of under my nose, like under my chin, makes me literally want to throw up. When the screen goes black, stop. It is definitely still a pretty penny. Almost positive, probably more now, considering that it's so limited because they stopped creating DSs. And I know there's a shortage of parts. I'm not gonna share numbers, but mine was a fat check. Which is why I'm stupid to not stream DS games more, but... I just like having the option, I guess, because I'm insane. I literally have every console I can stream on, and I just like am picky. I mean, you could probably get it to work with a redactulator, but like some games don't like work as much. Like this is like, it's straight from the DS. Remember when everybody made like, they hate this guy. I think everybody hates How. Are we fighting? The music? Oh. Go, Monty Jr. Get good. All hail Monty Jr. All hail Monty Jr. All hail Monty Jr. That gave me chicken skin? What does that mean? I don't know what the— my character looks so terrible. I wish there was auto text advance, like, please. Olivia's design in this game is like one of my favorite designs. And Acerola. Oh, I want to do an Acerola look, but I have nothing that could look like her. If I did Lily, I would just put on a white hat and then it's like a wrap. I know, the main character is just staring. Like, death stare. I don't like what this outfit does for my body. It's not doing any favors. I'll go get the door, mother. Finally, Jesus. Stop calling me cousin. I'm not gonna lie, I've looked up dirty pictures of Kukui. I have. And I would do it again. I would do it right now. It's gray sweatpants season. He's wearing gray sweatpants. Girl, please. A Pika pack, please. No one moved. I should have got a water type. True. I'll be my own water type, and I'll give him a little slurpy, sloppy slop, and it'll get real wet. Wet and wild. I'm sorry. Okay, don't act like you wouldn't give him a sloppy toppy. Like, please. You were all just thinking. And with that, I'm going to bed. Yeah, fuck you. Guys, I'm never inappropriate. I would never be inappropriate here on the channel. I've never been inappropriate. I don't know what you're speaking of. I want to get my hands on Black and White. I want to play Pokemon Black and White so bad. Those were the days. The golden days. Well, the eShop is shutting down, so I need to buy everything now. Ladybug! Ladybug! Die! Fuck you, Ladybug! We only have until March until it shuts down. Fuck! Everybody get your donations in. What, bitch? Youngster Jimmy! Jimmy Neutron. What the fuck is that? Oh, that's a Rattata-tata-tata. Ratatata. Wait, why do I kind of like the design of the Rattata? He looks silly. We might have to catch one. Girl, we're hiking it up this mountain. I'm not scared of you. Oh my god, she poisoned the air. Fuck you, Audrey. I'm sad. Fuck you, Caterpie. What did you want me to do? Just give myself up to that Caterpie? What if I got a shiny? Just like randomly. This Pokemon is so fucking ugly. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Maddie, look over there. Maddie, look under there. There's a Caterpie. Behind you. Can you please? No one moved. How do I heal? What if I die? Level up. Monty Jr. learned Lick? Huh? What was that? All right, I'm going. Girl, I need, like, I'm gonna die. Oh, I have a potion. Slay. Can we get another Pokemon? Not a Yongoose. Okay. Not what I envisioned. Oh! Oh, I am so sorry. That is really unfortunate, isn't it? Okay. Not a Grubhub. Oh, now I'm hungry. I want some Grubhub. Maddie, get me some Grubhub. Okay, fuck you, Maddie. Literally, fuck you. I don't know what grubbin is, so... Oliver! I'm like sliding off this chair because the fabric I'm wearing is like slippery. That's what I'm saying, Maddie, right? Shouldn't you guys be in school? Why are you fighting with Pokemon right now? Want that. I'm gonna get it. Who's playing the drums? Oh. Ladybug. Mid Pokemon, very mid. Shiny, right here. Okay. I feel so body dysmorphic! Where can I heal my Pokemon? Heal my Pokemon, lady. Heal my Pokemon, sir. Fuck you guys. Don't even ask to fight me right now. Right on time. Guys, I can't. I need my Pokemon to be healed. I'll do it if you heal my Pokemon, lady. Oh, thank you so much. I only have one Pokemon for this. Wait a second. I mean, I guess. I don't really have a choice in the matter, do I? Anyways. For all the life on our islands, and for those who undertake the island challenge in the joy of our hearts, we pray the protection of Memele. May this Pokemon be an offering to the island's guardian, Tapu Koko. Before you stands Hao, grandson of Kahuna. Before you stands Poop Fart. Hi. Hey everyone. Tastes like Mario was in your ass himself. Cannot wait to eat this. Cannot wait to eat this. Where did you get a Pichu? I want one, you fuck. Give me one. Yes, Miss Sandra Lee. Monty Jr.'s attack harshly fell. Die. Oh, damn it. The 3 damage? True. You kind of ate that. Please? Oh, Monty Jr.'s... What the fuck? Oh, fuck you. If I get this to land, you're done. Get freaking owned. Watch this, Mr. Krabs. Oh, fuck you. Monty Jr., please. We just need one hit. Oh, he did it. Monty Jr. slayed. That was like the entire event was just us doing that. Maddie, it's not Monty, it's Monty Jr. Put some respect on his name. Oh, I forgot this has Z moves. Oh, Z moves slay. Wait, what time is it? Oh, wow, wow, wow.
Oh, no!
Your mom. Your fucking mom. Your mom. Okay, what is there to eat at Taco Bell? I'm sorry. What is there? Don't say tacos. I know. Fuck you.
You guys suck. Oh.
We're naming one of the Pokemon Carl Weezer. Who's gonna be called Carl Weezer? Who's it gonna be? guys open his McDonald's and the delivery fee is literally $10?
Why?
Oh,
Jimmy.
the taco fries from Taco Bell sucked. Sorry. Controversial yet very brave opinion. Those things fucking sucked. I'll show you a Crunch Wrap Supreme. My girl. I forgot I changed my pronouns and like my identity, and I was like, don't call me a girl. You know, it's still a work in progress. We don't know where we're at. He's here this late at night? I'll just let him into my bedroom. Hello, sir. Oh, it's just you. Beautifully exhausting. That's literally me bundled up into one. That should be my tagline. Instead of Pisces Princess, beautifully exhausting. Why is my mom in a hard front? Look at this hard line she has for her hairline. Can I please? Where are we going? Pickle Pisces. Are you talking about my wiener? Hands off the merchandise, you freak. Why am I drinking a coffee at 11 at night? Can I get another Pokemon that I actually enjoy the presence of? Great. I'm thrilled. Huh. Well. I didn't want to do that. Girl. What is that clip? Oh, don't worry, I saw it. I saw it. Fanatical. At this point, I just like already know what your typo means because you have so many typos. Ow, I just zipped my zipper and it got skin. Anyways, fuck that Wingle. Wing these nuts. Oh my goodness, Ava, please. Calm down. I walk around? Okay. Bitch, you're going down. Madison? Like Maddie? Maddie's looking real tan. Peanut, don't put me in Pokemon. Peanut! Oh, I want Dominoes so bad. I could fuck some Dominoes right now. Okay, I want to catch it, but I feel like if I do tackle again, it's gonna kill it. Well, fuck. Perfect. 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 Level 6. I'm gonna insta-kill this by accident. Yes! I don't think Domino's delivers to here. They still don't. Are you awake? No, that move's stupid. If it's not like an actual attack, I'm not interested. I think that's so stupid. Oh, that's a cute little animation. I like that. Oh my god, how cute. What are we gonna name him? The smiley face. Fuck face. Oh. That's because I'm in there. Oh. Sorry. That's me barking for him. Yeah. No, don't interrupt us. You're sick. Not bad, right? Oh, is this the Rotom Dex? So many things in this game that are like, I think like pretty iconic, and people shit on this game. I mean, let's not forget X and Y. X and Y was the shitty game of all DS Pokemon games. Let's not forget. X and Y was terrible. Gentle on the goods, okay? True. Womp womp. Alola. It's private. I need to do a Lily look. Like, I have to. She's so cute. I gotta do a Mina look too. Are we done? Like, come on. Oh my god, we have to go to the trainer school. Oh. Unbearable. Is the category still Resident Evil? I'll kill Marshall. Hi, Achu. Happy to see you. Thank you for resubscribing for 3 months. I appreciate you. Oh. Marshall! You're gonna change the game category but not the title? Make me look like a clown? Oh, I love Snubbull. Oh, Pancham. Hi, Vixen. What's in your basement, Mr. Kukui? Sorry, that doesn't sound right. Oh, Vixen, thank you for subscribing. Oh, Poliwhirl! Oh, I love this guy. Did you do Resident? Yeah, I did, and then I died 5 times to the boss, and I was just like, I'm good. Like, I'm cool. I'm like fine. It was getting me so frustrated. Thank you for coming in and subscribing. I appreciate you. Almost starting a hype train. Thank you. What does he want me to do? Oh, he wants me to go to the trainer school. Excuse me. School simulator, I guess. Why does it look like yellow water? Pea water. Where's the trainer school? Oh, it's up there. Oh, we have to go back through this. Ugh. But yeah, I tried playing 7 again because I wanted to revisit it, but I don't know. Like, I guess I just don't have the magic touch anymore, so. There's already a playthrough of me playing it on my channel, so it's fine. From 2 years ago. It's whatever. Oh, I loved these Pokemon centers. This game feels so homey. I just spit. I remember like almost everything about this game. What is that? Thank you so much. Why do I have so much money? Hello? Wait, can we play with Remy the Rat? I mean, Fuckface McGee. Oh, the Festival Plaza! I remember the Festival Plaza. The little rat. Good night, Danny. Thank you for coming. I'll be live again on Tuesday. Look at him little laugh. He laughs. He laughs. He loves it. Oh, I didn't know they could eat it. So cute. I want to give Litten one. I'm here to feed you, honey. Oh, how cute. Not Sophocles, please. Keep your distance. Does this have Wonder Trade? Wait, I want a Wonder Trade. Oh my god, I'm just trying to skip through the audio. I remember this was such a slay. I remember like this entire thing. Oh, this is the Skull. Team Skull. I love this rival team. Can I leave? I'm being forced to mingle. Isn't that so strange? The Pokemon devs are like, no Nuzlocking. Like, please shut up. Come on. Be serious. You catch a Pokemon, and if it dies, you have to release it. Like, throw it away. They think it's modding. They don't like it. I'm like, girl, please. It's just a way to play your game. Okay, can I leave now? I was just here for a minute. Like, I just wanted to pop in. Girl, please. Very briefly, huh? Oh, she's stunning. Aggressive Bob. Okay, guys. I think I'm gonna dip out. Like, please let me out of here. I don't want to be in this festival plaza anymore. My god. Not you're up late, please. I'm just... I want a Wonder Trade. I want to see if we can get anything funny. I get, like, a legendary Pokemon at the start of the game. Let's do it. Fuck you, Wingle. I forgot! Oh, it did okay damage. I feel like if I hit it with the scratch, it's gonna kill it. Uh-oh. Okay, we're good. Nope. Come on. Wingle. Pringle. Wow. Mm, mm, mm. Mm. I think I'm gonna end there, y'all. I think that's a good spot to stop, and then on the next stream we can get into the Pokemon thingy trainer school. Eh. Fuck. I'm honestly just gonna end because I feel bad. I've been rating people and just like not even saying anything in their chats, so I'm just gonna close the stream out. But I will be live on Tuesday. Thanks for coming for the weekend stream. I'm gonna try to stream more on weekends. But yeah, I'm hoping we can finish this before October. And just I can have a couple fat streams of this. So yeah. So I'll be live on Tuesday. Maybe on Wednesday or Thursday, definitely Friday, but thanks for sticking through all of the technical difficulties. But yeah, I will be live on Tuesday definitely, and we'll go from there. So I'll see you on the next one. See you on the timeline. See you on Twitter. See you everywhere. Goodbye.